In the ocean, there is a place where size stops making sense. Where creatures grow, far beyond what should be possible. Crabs the size of dinner tables. Isopods that look like armored tanks. Squid that stretch longer than buses. It feels wrong. Unnatural. Almost impossible. Because this is the deep sea. A world with less food. Less energy. Less life. And yet somehow, everything down here gets bigger. But why? Why would the harshest place on Earth create giants? To understand this, we have to go down. Far below the surface. Into a world where the rules of life begin to break. The phenomenon has a name. Deep sea gigantism. It's not a myth. It's not exaggeration. It's real. And it appears again and again, across completely different species. The giant isopod. A creature that looks like a pill bug, but grows larger than a human hand. The Japanese spider crab. With legs stretching up to 4 meters across. And then, the legendary giant squid. An animal so massive, it remained a mystery for centuries. These creatures are not closely related. They evolved separately. In different parts of the ocean. At different times. And yet, they all follow the same pattern. They grow bigger. Much bigger. But this is where things get strange. Because everything we know about biology suggests the opposite should happen. On land, and in shallow water. Resources control size. More food means more growth. Less food means smaller bodies. It's simple. Animals need energy to survive. To move. To reproduce. To grow. So in an environment where food is scarce, you would expect animals to stay small. Efficient. Minimal. But the deep sea doesn't follow that rule. Down here, food is incredibly rare. Sometimes, animals go weeks. Even months. Without eating. So why grow larger? Why demand more energy in a place that has almost none? To understand why this happens, we need to understand the environment itself. The deep sea is not just dark. It's extreme. At depths beyond 200 meters. Sunlight begins to vanish. By 1,000 meters. It's completely gone. Total darkness. No plants. No photosynthesis. No easy food chains. Instead, life depends on something called marine snow. Tiny particles of dead organisms. Falling slowly from above. Like a constant, drifting snowfall of decay. But this snow is incredibly thin. Imagine trying to survive on crumbs, falling from the sky. That's life down here. And that's not even the weirdest part. Because temperature plays a critical role. The deep ocean is cold. Almost freezing. Typically between 0 to 4 degrees Celsius. And cold changes everything. In biology, temperature controls metabolism. The colder the environment, the slower an animal's body works. Heart rate slows. Digestion slows. Movement slows. Everything becomes stretched out in time. It's like life is happening in slow motion. Now here's where things start to connect. A slower metabolism means lower energy demand. A large animal in the deep sea may actually use less energy than a smaller, faster animal near the surface. But the real reason is far more surprising. Because size is not just about energy. It's about survival. In the deep sea, food is unpredictable. You might not eat for weeks. Or months. Or longer. So survival depends on one thing. Endurance. And larger bodies are better at enduring. They can store more energy. More fat. More reserves. Like a battery with a bigger capacity. A small animal might starve quickly. But a larger one? It can wait. And wait. And wait. Until food finally appears. This is where size becomes an advantage. Not a cost. But a survival strategy. But this is where things get even stranger. Because the deep sea doesn't just reward patience. It rewards opportunity. Food down here doesn't come in small, regular meals. It comes in rare, massive events. A dead whale sinking to the ocean floor. A large fish carcass drifting down. These are like jackpots. Sudden explosions of food in an otherwise empty world. And when that happens, the biggest creatures win. A giant isopod can consume huge amounts at once. Stuff itself to the limit. Then survive for months. Without eating again. This would be like a person eating enough food in one sitting. To survive an entire season. It sounds impossible. But in the deep sea, it's normal. And then, there's pressure. An invisible force. But one of the most powerful in the ocean. As you go deeper, pressure increases rapidly. By the time you reach the deep sea, it can be hundreds of times greater than at the surface. Enough to crush a human instantly. But deep-sea creatures are built for it. Their bodies are adapted. Flexible. Resilient. And here's where it gets interesting. High pressure can actually stabilize biological structures, allowing cells and tissues to function differently. Some scientists believe this environment may allow for larger body sizes, without the structural limitations seen on land. But that's still being studied. And it's not the full explanation. Because something else is happening. Something even more unexpected. Oxygen. Or rather, how it behaves in cold water. Cold water holds more dissolved oxygen than warm water. Which means the deep sea, despite being food poor, can actually be oxygen rich. And oxygen is critical for growth. It fuels cells, powers muscles, supports life at every level. So while food is limited, the ability to process energy is not as restricted as you might think. This creates a strange balance. Low energy demand, but sufficient oxygen supply. And that balance may allow organisms to grow larger over time. Slowly. Gradually. Over years. Even decades. But size in the deep sea is not just about survival. It's also about perception. In total darkness, vision becomes almost useless. Many creatures rely on touch, or chemical signals, or vibrations. And being larger makes you easier to detect. Whether you are predator or prey. Some animals evolve massive bodies to appear more threatening. Others to improve their chances of finding food or mates. Because in a world this empty, finding anything is a challenge. And that leads to one of the strangest ideas of all. Gigantism might not be a single adaptation, but a combination of many. Cold temperatures, low metabolism, high oxygen, rare feeding opportunities, extreme pressure, isolation. Each factor pushing evolution in the same direction. Bigger, slower, more efficient. But we're still missing something. Because some of the largest creatures don't just survive. They dominate. And the deeper we go, the more extreme they become. Because in the deepest parts of the ocean, there are creatures that take gigantism to another level entirely. Creatures that stretch the limits of biology. Creatures that shouldn't exist, but do. And their existence reveals something even more shocking about life in the deep. Something that changes how we understand evolution itself. Because the deeper we go, the stranger size becomes. Not just bigger, but more extreme, more exaggerated, more impossible. In the abyssal depths, where pressure is crushing, and darkness is absolute, some creatures don't just grow large. They become giants in ways that defy logic. Take the colossal squid. A predator built for darkness. With eyes the size of dinner plates. The largest eyes in the animal kingdom. But why? Why would a creature in total darkness need such enormous vision? But this is where things get strange. Because even in darkness, there is light. Faint flashes. Bioluminescence. Tiny bursts of glowing signals. Like distant stars in a black sky. And those giant eyes? They're not for seeing everything. They're for detecting something very specific. Movement. The faint glow of a predator. Or the sudden disturbance of a massive body passing nearby. In this world, seeing first means surviving. And bigger eyes mean a better chance. And then there's the giant tube worm. A creature that grows over 2 meters long. With no mouth. No stomach. No digestive system at all. Which sounds impossible. How does something that large survive, without eating? The answer is something even more bizarre. Symbiosis. Inside its body live millions of bacteria. These bacteria convert chemicals from hydrothermal vents into energy. Like living solar panels. But instead of sunlight, they use chemicals from the earth itself. This process is called chemosynthesis. And it allows these worms to grow to massive sizes. In total darkness. No sunlight. No traditional food chain. Just chemistry. And life finds a way. But gigantism doesn't stop there. Because in some cases, it's not just about growing bigger. It's about growing differently. Take deep-sea amphipods. Small crustaceans near the surface. But in the deep ocean, they can grow several times larger. Almost like evolution hit the scale-up button. But why? One theory suggests something called polar gigantism. In extremely cold environments, cells grow more slowly. But they can also grow larger before dividing. Over time. This leads to bigger body sizes. It's like building a structure. But letting each brick become larger before placing it. The result? A bigger organism. Without needing a faster metabolism. And that's not even the weirdest part. Because gigantism in the deep sea doesn't always follow a clean pattern. Some creatures grow huge. Others stay tiny.
Living side by side. In the same environment. Which raises a deeper question. If the environment pushes toward size, why doesn't everything become gigantic? The answer lies in trade-offs. Because being big comes with risks. Larger animals take longer to grow. Longer to reproduce. And if something goes wrong, recovery is slow. In an environment where food is unpredictable, that can be dangerous. So evolution creates balance. Some species go big, focusing on endurance. Others stay small, focusing on speed and reproduction. Two different strategies. Both working. Both surviving. In the same brutal world. But here's where the mystery deepens. Because gigantism doesn't just affect individuals. It shapes entire ecosystems. When large creatures dominate, they change how energy flows. A single large predator can control vast areas. A giant scavenger can consume huge food falls faster than anything else. This creates a hierarchy. A structure where size influences power. And power shapes survival. Imagine a